what we're going to do is we're going to go through the presentations, and if you guys have any questions, just wave and take yourself off mute so we can hear you. All right? Excellent. All right, so the next project we have is Chris. next project. Yes. Just want to introduce yourself and the project.
Yeah. Okay, my name's Chris Saltmarsh, ex-experimental physicist, software consultant at the moment, and I got involved in this wonderful hack, which is to put a bit of protection, we hope, around geographical areas. So my bits are going to work because all I have to do is show. Here's one part of it. It's a pack of near-field tags, which is kind of the start of the idea here. These we chose because they are very non-intrusive. They're not like Bluetooth things shouting at you. There's loads and loads of ways you can do this job. Near-field tags are just one of the nice ones. On those, we write a tag, fairly large one. Doesn't mean a thing, but it is unique. And then when it's all working, a company may buy some of these with their tags locked on. Then that company will go to a website and say where they want to put that tag. Right, that's their first bit that they're going to do.
And it's normally
at the door when you go into the mall or the shop or something like that, because it's going to give some information. Well, not the tag. Then the next thing we have is an Android phone. Why? Because it's mine. And I know how to program the thing. So if you go near this tag, you wave your phone at it. It pops up saying it's read the tag. And that bit kind of works on the hack I've done so far. It then sends the name of the tag and the phone's location and its identification off to our server. The server I can't show you because it's in East Virginia. It's on the Amazon cloud. That server is front-ended by this website that the clients, the companies will go into, and by various other things, built off of Drupal by my colleague Simon over there. Are you waving a picture of it, Simon? Yeah. And that front end is backed by a database. That was the first job, to design the database to connect all the information we want. That's done and loaded with some pretend database, so even if Amazon hack it, it doesn't matter. So the idea is the phone will call home with the tag ID, and our software looks in the database to see if the tag ID is known, and if it is known, it will know what company has asked for it, and therefore it will know where the company alleges it has put it. So if they made a mistake, or they're just lying, then the phone can get told, you are not where that tag is supposed to be, go away now because they're doing something wrong. If, however, it's in the right place, the back ends look up via the consent map, once all that's done, and boil down the kind of things that the company alleges they wish to do, like they want to track you, they want to use face recognition on your CTV, all the things that they might want to do, but you have a right to say no to. So those things come down to the phone. You allow the ones you are okay with, and you disallow the ones you're not okay with. The phone talks back to the back-end server, which then emails or contacts in some way. We were just going to use email the company, which says our client requests that he is not tracked. If that's legally possible, then the company can do one or two things: ignore it, tut tut, or send a receipt back saying, we understand, we promise not to. At that point, everybody's happy. You're going into this space knowing that the things that you don't want to happen, the company has promised not to do. May not be the case that they don't do it, but if they are found out, we've got the receipt saying that they will. That's the really important thing. And it's also important that it's just not one people. If there's thousands of people going into this space and they actually make mistakes a lot, then we can look through our timelines and find out, you know, you've been breaking the law a lot, and that means laws, and that means lawyers, and that means money, so don't do it. On the other hand, it is possible that that such a company selling stuff would like this because it then gets their customers more engaged in the experience, to use that horrible expression. But there we go. So how far do we get? Well, there's an app on here which reads it and then crashes. The back end has got the database with some pretend data in, although it's not connected to the consent map because that's not finished, of course. And the Drupal front end is there, and we're bolting things onto that. We can program the tags and we can read them. We can talk from the phone to the back-end server. So it's a proof of principle, an almost proof principle. We just ran out of time, but it's not far off.
Hi, my name's Ruben Binns. I am a researcher at the University of Southampton. I kind of joined this project yesterday afternoon, and so there's a lot of other work that's gone into it and a lot of thinking that's gone into it from the Cantara group as well.
I'm Spataro. I come from Milan. I'm working since some hours with him, and the idea is to track when we say yes online. When we say I agree, we do it many times every day, every month, every year. Stop. And we don't remember. So a simple tool to contact the owner and send some info, ask or make a campaign to ask him make a policy better in plain text because I can't understand. So the tool find the owner of the website and immediately prepare the email with the destination correct, and we send an email already written.
So probably just introduce other members of the team. So Phil over there has had a lot of good ideas for this and has been helping to compile the list of contact details for all the websites. So for that, he used the US Safe Harbor listings. So all the 5,000 companies, was it? 4,000 odd companies and their privacy office contact details. Who else is working on the project? We've had lots of people kind of chipping in different things. So Ines helped me write the complaint thing. Who else have we got? Various other people. So I'll run through the demo. So this is based on Valentino's. Bookmarklet. So basically, what you've got is a simple bookmarklet which you can drag up into your toolbar, and then when you go to a website and you see the privacy policy, you don't really understand it, or maybe you do, but you can't be bothered to read it all because it's really long. You just press Save Your Consent. That'll take you to a page that will drag out some information about that privacy policy. So who's the company? What's the URL? It'll drag in the contact details from that database of privacy officer contacts, and it'll make a guess as to what the jurisdiction is of the website. And based on all those things, it will draft you an email that you can send to the company saying, look, you've written this in a really obscure way, I don't understand. As a consumer, this policy is effectively not written for me. So please can you, in order that I can give you my actual informed consent, please can you send it in a different form which just has these basic fields. And so things like what's the purpose, if it's a California-based company and you're a California resident, how do you respond to the do not track preference that I've set on my browser, that kind of thing. And so ideally these things will actually be referenced using the consent legal map, which we've been working on, which is basically a list of all the legal references for requirements of notices. So if the notice has to say the contact details, or it has to say how they honour the do not track, then it'll give a little reference to that. So the privacy officer at the company that you're sending the email to will be able to look at the references that, okay, right, this guy knows that we need to change our privacy policy in this way or that way. And then hopefully they'll send you a response. And if you want, you can opt in to the system that we've set up, which will collect all of the responses. And the idea there is that we can generate a database of all the responses from the companies that will say that will provide their privacy notice in this more simple, easy to read form. And we haven't written the privacy policy for that aspect of the service yet, but we will. Once you've done that, you can put in your email here. Send that off, and it will give you a receipt of the email you've sent. And if you've opted in to our system, it will also send us a copy of that. And so then we can build a kind of picture of what all the different companies would say if they had to convert their privacy policies into something that was more usable and readable.
Okay.
Cool. Anything to add?
No.
Okay.
Perfect.
Cool.
That's great. So, is there any questions?
Do you have an example of what you'd consider to be obscure and complex, and something that you would consider to be easy to read and understand? Because let's just say the company does come back with something that's half the length. There may be a danger that they've missed something out and that it isn't as legally binding as the original document. So the thing is, I'm not a lawyer, so I'm asking this as a non-lawyer.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. My father was. And I'm studying more than 1,500 of legal documents, terms of services, privacy policies online. They are all collected on a database online, tagged, indexed. And I found in this work that there are good policies around in the web, but the worst are the most longer, with long paragraphs. So we can analyze how the people write a text. This is the first method. Then there are others. In this case, we leave the users to think, this is too complex, I want to ask you something better. So we can choose a method by computers, asking a computer, is it difficult to understand? A computer will give an answer. In this case, this is a social answer, because many people have a complaint, and we can track eventually how many we will send.
I mean, just say, for example, I don't know, the instructions that you might get from IKEA. To put furniture together, which don't actually use words, it's just pictures. And that's probably, for many people, about as far as they're going to get in terms of understanding a document. And I don't want to be too dismissive. But, and that's the sort of level that people may be willing to engage. They're certainly not going, as you say, to read through, piles of text. And so, but then again, is that a legally binding document? So, sure.
So I guess there have been lots of different proposals for different ways of presenting privacy policies in more user-friendly ways. So there's been various projects proposing icons that are kind of like Creative Commons icons that are modular and try to represent, say, we share your data with third parties as an icon. And there are other efforts which are what they call layered policies. So you have the full legally binding document, but then it's layered, so it's like an accordion. You can squash it up and just get a summary of each section. And so there have been different proposals, and I think this is kind of slightly to the side of that, because all it's saying is if you as a user have looked at it and you don't understand it for whatever reason, you can go and request something that you might understand a bit better. I hope that answers your question.
You can follow on Twitter legal design, the hashtag legal design. There's many tweets on this.
One question. Can you tell me a bit more about the plans you have for aggregating and analyzing when you have lots of people using this? I sort of see how it works, but I don't see where it leads.
Yeah. So I guess eventually you could, once there's a good coverage, you could not go through this whole rigmarole if you're a user of the system and say the top 100 websites already have a version of this. You could, instead of seeing the privacy policy, you could have a plugin that would just supply you with the shortened version that the company has already given in response to another user. So that would be one way of using it.
The best part is to wait for questions, because we will. Nobody now collect how many people have complaints about legal documents. So there are consumer associations in Italy for consumers that have class actions also. But this is a thing. The website is another. We can have infos about most frequently the websites. We don't know. It could be a starting point, and we can have better reports depending on the needs of the enterprises.
Yeah, just one more thing on the database is that once you yourself have used this, every time you agree to a new service, you have a record of everything, and you have a record of when you agreed as well. So if the terms change later on, and then you're later on found to be in violation of those terms, but you weren't notified of the changes, you can say, look, I only agreed to this. I didn't agree to this addition that you made later on. And so you have that record for your own reference later on.
Yeah, and I think that actually brings up a good point, because you're asking how, if they've cut down the fields and they give you back a short version, then it doesn't cover them. But I think what this is doing is more it's for the user to understand, a user of the service to just go, what's the purpose, when did a copy of that consent, and what's your contact information, so I can maybe engage in a dialogue. So it's not really to cover the company. It's just to put a tick in the box. Yeah, yeah, that's it.
I mean, it's interesting because the people that are proposing simple images is in fact the European Parliament. So the new draft direct regulation has these images, and I use those images regularly in presentations, and no one that sees them is able to understand them. So I do think there is a problem of simplicity can lead to its own obscurity, and in a way that's why this is perhaps more appealing, because it retains